By 2050, it's estimated that more than 60% of the world's population will live in urban areas, with congestion a growing concern. But new and emerging technologies in aerospace management, air vehicle design, and a whole new thinking has led us to focus our attention skywards with urban and regional air mobility. Now, as we see development progressing towards actual future for flight trials in different cities, we talked to James Richmond, the urban air mobility lead for Atkins, one of the world's leading design, engineering and project management consultancies. James, welcome to the programme. So where are we now with the grand plan for urban air mobility?
So urban air mobility promises a revolution in the way people fly, the way we fly goods around our cities and the wider urban environment. The prospect of scaling urban air mobility has been on the horizon for some time now and is in fact part of a much wider paradigm shift we're seeing emerge in our aerospace market. We are currently facing a coalescing of mega trends and drivers and technology breakthroughs. Some of these macro environmental and economic trends are our drive to be more sustainable and the unprecedented urban growth that we're seeing. And we can now add COVID-19 recovery to that list too. These trends drive the need for cleaner and more efficient modes of transport, but also the need for better and more distributed transport nodes as well. And in addition, we may see some conventional players looking to diversify and make their business models more resilient. When you couple this with the series of breakthrough innovations in electric propulsion, advanced communications, and automation, you start to see how we can create a step change in the way we utilize our skies. However, it's really important to point out that the prospect of urban air mobility is not new. It's not a transport revolution in its most basic form. But what is a transport revolution is when you're able to viably scale the system and make new connections possible in a more sustainable way and by means of which society can accept. And I think bringing that vision to life means putting aside some of the more elaborate ideas of what this form of transportation might look like, and instead focus on making it viable in terms of accessibility and acceptability.
So we've focused a lot on the different vehicles and the concerns over certification, for example, but it's all a lot more than that, isn't it?
When you start to unpick these challenges, you start to realize that the hurdles we must overcome lay beyond the feasibility of even type certification of a suitable vehicle. Yes, that's an important first step, and I have incredible amounts of confidence in those determined to make it happen. But expect to see the need for greater collaboration between stakeholders as systems become more connected, and we aim to leverage the shared data between them. And the sooner our industries, stakeholders, and sectors come together and collaborate and start to compound their knowledge, the quicker we'll achieve the benefits at scale.
Okay, that's the big picture. But as we drill down into that, there are practicalities, of course, things like maintenance, MRO and so on. Now, you're going to be in tight spaces on rooftops where space is at a premium. So what happens there?
I guess all of the practical issues that we face within urban air mobility largely sit within two groups. There's those that enable the implementation, such as the maturity of technology and the regulatory framework. And then there's those that you touch on, Alan, that form critical success factors in ensuring the scalability and a viable operation. Aircraft hangars serving both line and base maintenance requirements are commonplace at airports today. But this infrastructure solution doesn't necessarily work in an urban context, especially for those longer base maintenance related checks. And so this is an area that needs some real thought. A natural conclusion to this, I think, is a true digital twin of each operating asset. And by that, I mean the vehicle and the infrastructure. And this could be fed with data of each component's configuration, its history, its current condition, and combined effectively with a high degree of modularity.
Another thing that's been an issue in the news lately has been people with disabilities. And rather than reinventing things, how are we thinking now about how people with disability can access future urban air transport systems?
I think it goes back to a solid requirements-based approach, which is understanding the requirements now, early in the design life cycle, and that we consider some of the barriers different users may face, from the usability of new technologies to different levels of accessibility. And again, these are not bolt-on solutions. OEMs have the duty now to consider that very early in the life cycle before it gets too late.
Well, obviously, public engagement is going to be an important part of this process as well. And I'd like to touch on the issue of security, both physical and cyber. How do you see the public getting behind the move towards this transport system, and particularly the unmanned aspect?
So I think security in urban air mobility will come in many forms, whether that be ensuring that we have properly thought about redundancies in our flight control architecture, whether that be screening passengers or cargo, or indeed cybersecurity. And the reality is that all of these factors form overall system resilience, and it must be considered holistically as part of the design process and upfront. For no matter how advanced, clever, or complex a system is, it's only as strong as its weakest link. And I think by failing to address these emerging cyber security issues in particular, the risks linked to digitization and interconnectivity, if we ignore those, I think we're effectively putting the entire sector in jeopardy. And despite this, as things stand, there is little in the way of specific cyber security requirements mandated by regulators.
Well, time is of the essence now, though. Volocopter and others are talking about being in major cities within the next few years. How are we going to be able to be ready in the sense of the design and planning of all the things you're talking about? How will we prove it, and when can we fly?
I think there's a fair consensus building that we'll see these vehicles and some form of a supporting system in the next 3 to 5 years. But I think we have to look beyond this if we are really to start to see the possible benefits delivered. It's been said many times that the best way to predict the future is to create it. And this is what plenty of people, including Atkins, are doing. I think we're demonstrating this by leading a consortium with high ambitions as part of the UK government's Future of Flight Challenge. The Aviation Innovation in the Southwest Consortium will assess the feasibility and development of advanced air mobility using the Southwest region as a testbed, with the aim of demonstrating air taxi services by as soon as 2023. And as part of this, we won't just be considering the vehicle, but we will be aiming to develop an operational framework, create public engagement, market interest, and also importantly, evaluate the potential integration and demand with wider transportation systems. We've chosen the southwest region of the UK with Bristol at its heart, because Bristol is a very forward-looking city for the UK, with not only innovation but the aerospace industry as part of its core industrial strategy. So this is where we're going to create a test bed. In terms of what Atkins are doing in this consortium, well as providing safety case and regulation input, our key function will be bringing together the constituent parts. We'll be using a systems of systems approach, and we aim to form an operational framework that can hopefully be exported anywhere in the world. The consortium sees partners, each leaders in their field, covering the vehicle, infrastructure, advanced air traffic, communications, the business case and demand modeling, data security, local authority, and an international airport to serve as a test bed. And it's really the coming together of all of these stakeholders across sectors that will give urban air mobility the best chance of succeeding.
Well, that's great news. Thanks, James. Well, all UK eyes will be on Bristol for that. And I know that there are other cities around the world that are preparing themselves too to prove urban air mobility is a safe, sustainable and an essential solution to the challenges of transportation in the near future. Well, we'll be keeping you up to date on developments, so don't forget to subscribe on our website, wearefin.com.